Hello, welcome to the Lone Show. I'm your host, John May Lone. In this episode, no regulars, because reasons, as always. As for our guest, he's from St. Louis, Missouri. He does a podcast somehow, and there could be more, but I'll ask him. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Bob Lamont.
Hey, how you doing?
Right.
Glad to be here. You weren't so sure about St. Louis. It sounded like you're like St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, I was
You've
thinking
never
the
been,
same
I'm
thing.
guessing, right?
No, I've never been to the U.S., let alone St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, chances are if you come to the U.S., you're never going to come to St. Louis, so.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's perfectly fine. If you're going to come, you're going to go to New York, right? New York City? Maybe you'll go to Los Angeles, maybe Chicago. St. Louis is probably not on the docket.
You know what? I might actually consider it, to be honest.
You don't like the big cities? Because you seem to, whenever I mentioned the big city, you're like,
Well, look, I understand that big cities are majestic and has its historical impact, but of course, recent times, looking at the state of New York is absolutely awful. I've seen rubbish in public streets everywhere. It's
That's
madness.
normal. That is normal in New York City.
It is not normal.
It's normal in New York City. There's always garbage in the street in New York.
It's not supposed to be normal, though.
Well, no, but I can't. I've only been to New York City once, and there was garbage everywhere. But as long as I can recall, they always have problems with garbage because there's so many people in such a small space. Now, I've been to London as well, but there was no garbage in the streets.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be garbage everywhere.
But you're dealing with different systems in London, right? It's a wholly different system to deal with the garbage as in New York, where there's lots of politics involved in the garbage, let alone anything else. Where in London, I think they just kind of take care of it and are done with it.
Yeah, it's just you got to do what you got to do. It's for the sake of the people. It's so straightforward.
I hate to tell you that New York City also smells like urine most of the time.
Of course.
If you're in even in Manhattan, so even down by Times Square and everything. At least that's been my experience.
Fair enough. That's
so
wild.
Maybe you wouldn't. Now in St. Louis, there's no garbage in the streets, but there are areas that are very run down, not nice, but it's much smaller.
Yeah. You know what? I'll still take St. Louis anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take anything at this point.
Well, are you planning to come to the States at all, or is that like in your what you want to do in the future?
Well, I'm not planning to go to the United States yet, or maybe soon, but at some point in the future, if I ever want to go to the United States, I might consider going to many of the state capitals. I'm not too sure on the big boys because reasons, but
sure.
I know my family really wants to look at the most iconics of landscapes and landmarks, so I don't blame them. But of course, if you know what happens,
we have the Arch in St. Louis, so that's a landmark, the St. Louis Arch.
Oh yes, the Arch.
And you can go up in the Arch, and although I'm going to warn you that one of the elevators got stuck the other day, and it's not like a normal elevator like that goes straight up and down because it's an arch, right? And so it's a little egg pod elevator that's very small, and it can hold 5 people, but not comfortably. It holds 5 people if you really squish in there. And it's very claustrophobic, even if it's not full of people. And it climbs its way up the arch leg, and one of those got stuck. I don't know how long they were stuck in there, but I can't imagine it was comfortable because it's not even comfortable riding the elevator, let alone having to sit in it longer than you need to. Not that I want to put you off of it, because it's neat. I mean, but if you don't like elevators, I wouldn't go up in the arch. Yeah, there's a price to pay, that's for sure. And There's no bathrooms at the top of the arch.
Why?
It was made in the 60s, and they didn't want to make a bathroom, and so you have to make sure when you go up in the arch that you have take care of your business beforehand, because there's no place to go up there.
Mm.
It's very small. It's actually very, very small up there. People don't realize it. They think it's going to be like going up on, like the Empire State Building or something. It's nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's totally different than any tall building that you would go up into, because it's not a building. It's a monument. Yeah,
it's a structure.
Yeah, it'd be more, I guess, akin to the Statue of Liberty, which I don't think there's any bathrooms up in the crown of the Statue of Liberty either. So,
yeah,
it
is what it is.
I don't know if this was our topic tonight: bathrooms and landmarks.
No, that just came in somehow.
Well, I could talk about some other ones. I've been to several landmarks myself, personally. So.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, the Space Needle. I've been to the Space Needle. There's bathrooms in the Space Needle up high. So that's
very
cool.
nice.
So that's a civilized monument as opposed to the arch and the Statue of Liberty. Uncivilized monuments.
Yeah.
Yeah, Space Needle was actually quite nice, other than there, at least at the time I went, which has been a little while ago, there wasn't a lot of safety features, so you could easily fall off of that thing and just plummet to your death. But I'm sure they've remedied that now. It used to be you'd go on the Space Needle and there was like a little cafe up there, and so you could get yourself a drink or whatever and sit outside, because it's got an outside area around the Space Needle. And then if you could actually sit on the railing, you used to be able to. And then the only thing after the railing between you and the ground was these wires. They had it might have been like half dozen or 7 wires that ran around the outside, like on little spikes that went out from the Space Needle. And so you would fall onto the wires, at least momentarily, before you fell to your death.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm sure they've probably changed that. And like they did on the Empire State Building, they put all the mesh and everything. And actually, if you go to Paris in the Eiffel Tower, they have all this netting now to where you can't lean out or anything. I'm sure they changed that at this point. But at one time, it was really quite, and it was all downward sloping as well, for the rain and whatnot. So everything slopes down to the railing.
Dang.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
But I will tell you can easily fall into the Grand Canyon, because there's not a lot of safety features at the Grand Canyon.
Of course there isn't.
Yeah. And so, because you can walk around the whole, if you felt like doing it, it'd be a really long way to go. But whenever you go to the Grand Canyon, depending on which area entrance you go to, or whatever you want to call it, endpoint, you can walk around parts of it that just plummet into nothing with no railings or anything. I mean, it's just open.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think the National Park Service, when you go in, I think there's a sign that says basically enter at your own risk, because there's lots of things that'll kill you in any one of the national parks here in the United States, and they don't make no huge efforts in order to save you. So I went to Yellowstone this summer, and I saw Old Faithful. The geyser.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing preventing you from walking up and jumping in Old Faithful. All there is around the edge of Old Faithful, where they want you to be, is like a giant wooden deck with some seating and literally no railing or anything. You can just walk out onto the geyser field, and there's multiple geysers. There's not just one geyser. There's a bunch of them there. But Old Faithful is the one that shoots the highest and is on a pseudo schedule. And yeah, you could just walk out into the geysers if you wanted to. No one would stop you. There's no one there to stop you. If you took a little bit of a run, you'd be boiled alive right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that almost happened while I was there. Some other tourists drove their SUV into a geyser that was off the side of the road.
Yeah.
Literally drove. It was a big SUV. It had 5 people in it. They somehow drove off the road, and the whole car went down into the geyser. And luckily, they got out. But they were probably injured a bit. And then they had to have a crane come in and get the car out of the geyser.
What were they thinking?
My guess is they were looking around, or maybe they were drunk. Either one. Maybe
yeah,
both.
either one. Yeah, seems plausible.
Maybe both. But that happened while we were there because we heard all the sirens and everything, and they were responding to this whole thing. And then we saw it on the news later that day. So, yeah. And then, well, I don't know if you also saw one of the geysers exploded where people were walking. Like about a week or so later, and like threw rocks on everybody. That was good too.
Oh, all right then.
So I'm really selling this coming to America thing.
Yes, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it already.
I would say those are all good places to go visit. You just have to be, keep your wits about you. I mean, it'd be like, I'm sure you're over there in England, in London. There's probably parts of London you don't walk around at night because you'll get
no, of course not.
mugged or something. So it's the same kind of deal.
Yes, of course.
Same kind of deal. You can go up in the Willis Tower in Chicago, and they have these where it tilts out, right? So you're all the way at the top of the tower. Used to be one of the tallest buildings in the world, not anymore. And you stand in this little thing, and then they tilt it out so you can kind of look down from on top of the tower. But that seems to be very safe. It's all boxed in and everything.
Wait.
Yeah, so there's stuff to do everywhere.
It sure is.
Anywho.
Yeah.
Is there any other areas you are curious about? I've been all kinds of places. I mean, maybe I've been there.
Okay. Well, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
If money was no object and I could live anywhere that, well, would I have to have been there before, or does it matter?
It does not matter.
Oh, okay. Well, because there's so many places I haven't been, so maybe there's some. But I will tell you the places I've been. I would live in Lucerne, Switzerland.
Nice.
Have you been there?
Not yet, actually.
You should go. You should go. It is one of the most beautiful cities I've been to. Absolutely beautiful.
And it's actually coincidental, too, because actually, as of this recording, in a few days, me and my family are actually planning to go to Switzerland, visiting Basel, Lucerne, Bern, and also Zurich as well.
And Zurich. I haven't been to Bern. I've been to Lucerne and Zurich. And both of them are very, very nice. I would say Lucerne, for the quaintness and cleanliness, it is probably the cleanest city I've ever been to, was Lucerne. I hope it's still that way when you go there.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly like to know at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm. It was just gorgeous, and we really were only there for a day. We were in Zurich, and we took a day trip over to Lucerne for the day, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just spectacular. Spectacular, beautiful, beautiful city. It would be, it's the type of city that you want to live in because it's so nice. And so, it's just gorgeous. And you look out onto the mountains, right? And Lake Lucerne is crystal clear. I mean, you can see down into the lake and see, fish and whatnot. It's just very, very, very clean and very beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Zurich wasn't bad, but it's very hilly in Zurich.
Of course it
is. Yeah, you have to walk up and down all these hills. But I mean, it's pretty as well, but not quite as clean as Lucerne. So, but you tell me, whenever you get back from your trip, you'll have to tell everybody, what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, absolutely. I've got a lot to say eventually.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have a good time. I can't remember. We ate at we ate at a couple different places in Lucerne on that day, and we ate outside the whole time. It was nice weather like it is now, and so we ate on basically out in the street. They just had tables, out in the street, and you just order and just sit in the nice weather and and it was fantastic. I will tell you, though, this is something that we don't have here in the United States that you guys have more over in Europe, is armed soldiers walking around.
Really?
In Lucerne, they had, I talked to some of them. They were very nice, by the way, but they had machine guns, and they were all camoed, military people, and they were just walking around the city just making sure everybody, was good.
I never thought that'd be the case.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't super, obvious. And they also were in the train station because we took the train. And, but yeah. And I mean, here you have that in New York City, right? There are, in the subways, they do have militaristic police people. But not like in St. Louis, you're not going to see anything like that. You know what you're going to see in St. Louis? You're going to see some guy in shorts riding a bike downtown who's a cop. I don't even think he's got a gun. So yeah, it's kind of a juxtaposition there, but interesting. But it wasn't oppressive. I'll put it that way. It was very, they were very visible but not intrusive.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. But you have more of that. I had that, I think, at the train station in Paris. I think I remember seeing people like that as well. So
yes, of course.
Yeah, but anyway. I don't remember. And I came in the airport. I came into Heathrow, so I don't remember what the airport was. Just like regular airport stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing in Zurich, the airport had a grocery store with fresh fruit. You could just go buy an apple or something.
Wow.
That I had never seen in the airport. I had never seen like a produce section at an airport. It's always, stupid McDonald's or, stuff like that, Dunkin' Donuts, but not actually, a good variety or anything that was healthy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So how are you going to get there? How are you going to get to Zurich? Are you flying? Are you taking a train or what?
Well, to get to Switzerland in the first place, it's going to be by plane, and then by the time we arrive,
not taking the channel.
No channel because
too bad.
it'll be a while. But once we get to Switzerland, we would mostly use the trains to get to and from one of the cities we want to get to. Mm-hmm. That's actually one of the reasons we're going, because the train services is absolutely so good and so efficient that you can get a train once every 15, 30 minutes, maybe one every hour at best.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
great system.
Great.
Yeah. I wish we had that over here. We don't have any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
it's a shame.
It's so big. There's so much potential in the past with railways in the US. What happened to it?
Well, the short answer is the car knocked the rail systems out of commission, but the long answer is the oil companies lobbied Congress to get rid of railroads not in favor of cars so they'd sell more oil. Gas.
No, that's actually a very logical answer because you need
oil
to fuel the cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I see.
That happened a long time ago. Standard Oil and all them, Rockefellers and all that. But I think they're going to try to bring stuff back. Like we have a light rail here in St. Louis that runs around the area. Unfortunately, it doesn't go everywhere is the bad thing, but it does go a few places, and it's all right. It's not like in Chicago you have the elevated train, the L, which goes a lot of places, and that's much more useful. And then also they have the metro in Washington, D.C. that's actually quite useful. But in St. Louis, we have the Metro Link is what they call it. And it's all right.
Well, at least you got a metro.
That's true. None of it goes underground, though. It's all above ground. And so, it's interesting to take the metro. It just takes a long time. I've ridden it several times, and then a long time we used to ride it to sporting events because that was the easier way to go than to try to park and everything in the like go to the hockey game or whatever, you just take the metro down, and then you don't have to pay for parking. You just pay for your metro, which is cheaper, and ride it back and forth to the dome, and that worked out really well. And I've ridden it a few times. It mostly goes downtown into the airport and a few other places, but it's not extensive. They should make it a little more extensive, I think, but they'll never do that, you know.
Not
We
unless
can
they see
talk
some
about mass
benefit to it.
transportation. What's that?
Not unless they see some benefit to it for themselves.
Right, yeah, the problem is, everybody. There's the people who are for it, and then there's people who are like, oh, no, then all the poor people will just come into the rich people section. And it's like, no, they won't. They don't. That doesn't work like that. People just go where they got to go. It's not like they're riding the train for fun. Some people do, but those people are harmless.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I just read somewhere, I think it was Luxembourg, made, which is a very small country, but they made all train travel free for anyone.
Impressive.
So if you go to Luxembourg, you just get on a train and go wherever it goes. And I
don't
think
have to pay.
Yeah, you don't have to pay. Once you get there, you can get around. And the other thing is, I think it was them who made Wi-Fi free for everybody.
Well, that's what you get for being such a rich country.
There you go. It pays. It pays to be wealthy.
It sure does.
So, yeah, maybe you should go visit Luxembourg. It's not that far from you, I don't think.
No, it's not far, but it's on the mainland continent, so...
Yeah, I know. You got to get over Channel. Is the Channel expensive to take? Is that one of the things?
I wouldn't know, to be honest, because I never rode into the tunnel. But even we do go through the tunnel, the thing is, Brexit happened, and there's going to be border checks and verification to ensure that you're allowed to go into mainland Europe from the UK, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's a big pain in the neck. So you just have your British passport then, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, so you don't have. So when before Brexit happened, your British passport was good over in mainland Europe, but now it's not. Is that the case?
Well,
or it's good, but you
sure.
have to get checked rather than just getting passed.
Well, the thing is, even when the UK was in the European Union, that there was a thing called a CTA. So even though we were members, it wasn't fully part of the Schengen area where we could just go wherever country we like. But even though we can freely go into European countries without border checks, when it comes to going between UK or Schengen area countries in the EU, you're still going to have to be checked. But you can still get through with or without a visa, or not sure, but regardless, it's not hard, but it's not as simple as you think it would be, because the UK think, because we're islands, it's different about going into, but of course, I think Iceland would also disagree. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah, everybody just makes it so complicated, right? It doesn't need to be. I didn't know if you were there prior to Brexit, if you had some type of EU credentials that you got to keep or something, but I guess not.
No, it's not that I would know of.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's really too bad. Have you ever been to Wales?
Actually, yes. Just
really?
A few weeks ago, me and my dad went to north of Wales, the peninsula, and looked at this is a town called Quirky, and we looked at the seaside and got fish and chips there. And of course, we took the Festiniog and Welsh Highlands Railway to Blanau Festiniog, it was a small mining community where a lot of the mining happened relating to, I can't remember what the name is, but it's something this kind of stone where you could just easily bend, and it's seen gorgeously on a lot of roofs in the UK.
Oh, okay, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, when I was over there, We went to London. We went to Dublin, and we didn't get to Scotland or Wales. I would like to go to those places. That's on my list of things to do eventually. The hard part for us, just like you, is to get over. You know what I mean? Because it's quite a long trip for us to get over there. So, and that's the kind of the expensive part. And then obviously staying is a little expensive, but getting there is hard, and getting back. But yeah, someday I gotta get to Wales somewhere. So would you suggest going there if I get to Wales? I should go to see the coast.
Yeah, the coast is absolutely gorgeous. It's like somewhere being in the Mediterranean, except the temperature is a lot cooler and a lot more windy because, well, the further up north you go, the chillier and the windier it gets.
Right, yeah. How interesting. Because I was, and this is older than me, but I watched it because I heard about it. There was a show called The Prisoner, which is a UK show, right? I don't know if you've heard of it. It was in the 60s. Have you heard of it? Patrick McGowan?
Maybe not. Who knows?
It's a classic show. You should watch it at some point. It's not very many episodes. But anyway, it was filmed in Wales on the coast. I can't remember the name of the coastal town, but the show was filmed at the specific resort town on the coast, and it kind of feeds into the whole storyline of the show. But I mean, now it's not as cool as news shows and everything, but for the time it was quite interesting. But I always thought I would like to go there, and I'm guessing, I think that where you're talking about is probably pretty close to where that was at.
Yeah.
Cool. That, and I would like to go to Scotland at some point. So I don't know where, but somewhere in Scotland. Glasgow, of course, but Edinburgh probably more so, because you got the castle and all that stuff.
Sweet.
So yeah, Edinburgh. Yeah. How would you say it? Am I saying it incorrectly?
No, you're saying it right. It's Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. Okay.
Edinburgh, yes.
And then Glasgow. Ah, getting close. I am. But I think I find that fascinating. But that's colder and windier, I'm assuming, because it's further north, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. And the rainier, apparently.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Now I read somewhere that Scotland has the most, maybe almost by 2030 or something like that, the whole country is going to be powered by wind power. Does that sound right?
Not far off, actually. I do think personally it's a stretch to be fully renewable in such little time, but for Scotland to be entirely reliant on renewable energy such as wind, solar, etc., I can see that happening because I've seen a lot of people are pushing forward for that. Because after oil's gone, what now? How are we going to power our houses?
What now? I think, yeah, they're either going to be powered on wind or peat. One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two.
Isn't there a lot of peat bogs up there and everything in Scotland? Yeah. But no, I did read that. I read that they're like on track for something like that, and I guess it's very windy up there, so that may be the case. That would be actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, sounds good.
Have you been to Scotland?
Yes, I have been to Scotland many years ago with my family. We mainly went to Edinburgh, stayed a few nights there, and then we travelled up to the Scottish Highlands, look at the scenery, and then we went back down, and then entered back into England, back home, and that was the trip.
All on train then, or?
No, we actually drove there to Edinburgh, and even to the Highlands by car.
How long a trip was that? I mean, to get there.
It's as long it is to get to Edinburgh as it is to get to London.
How many hours is that?
Nearly 4-5 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's so close.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's how long it takes me to get to Chicago from here.
Yeah, that's because the US is very big. So our drive is just like, well, it's just a normal commute. But of course, prospectively, people in the UK would think that's so long because the country of the UK is so small in itself.
Yeah, that's the big difference is we have such vast open spaces where I guess you guys, I mean, I maybe have open spaces, but 4 hours is like nothing. I'd do that on the weekend where, so, okay, just give you some idea here. So I went to Yellowstone this year and it took, oh gosh, how long did it take to get? It took about 17 hours to get from St. Louis to Yellowstone Park. West Yellowstone was the name of the town that we stayed in. 17 hours. All right. And then, you're going to laugh, we drove from there to Los Angeles, California, which was probably another 22 hours. And then we drove back from Los Angeles to St. Louis, which was, again, about 20-some hours. That's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. and how many stops during all of those journeys have you ever made?
It was over 2 weeks, so it was a long time. Well, we spent several days in Yellowstone, and we spent several days in Los Angeles. And so in between, I guess, usually about, 2 days in between each. Well, it's 3 days coming back from Los Angeles, but 2 days going to Yellowstone, 2 days going to Los Angeles. So, yeah. And actually, we spent an extra day in Salt Lake City to see that. So, which I wouldn't recommend. If you come to the United States, you can go to Salt Lake City, but don't go to the Salt Lake. It smells horrible. It's just gross. If you don't like bad smells, don't go to Salt Lake in Utah. It smells horrible.
Dang.
Yeah.
The more you know.
You can't even get in there. You can't even get in the water. It's all salty, right? It's disgusting.
Yeah,
it was the most disgusting lake I've ever been to in my life. But I saw it.
Why make the lake salty to begin with?
Well, it's natural. There's all these salt deposits in that area, and the water's there, and it just naturally salty. They didn't make it that way. It was.
Yeah, it's part of nature, I guess.
Part of nature, yeah. But it's very beautiful. The drive was great, but yeah, drive through the mountains and drive through the desert and drive through the forest. I mean, everything. We got it all in that trip. But it was just a crazy long trip. I wouldn't recommend it. But just to give you an idea, juxtaposition on your 4 hours to Scotland, which is another part of your, a whole other country. And I'm just going to California. It takes forever.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. And that is the episode. It was great having you on, Bob, talking about literally everything travel related. And of course, holidays too. And yeah, it's been great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we didn't have a topic coming into it, so we made a topic our own, just out of conversation.
And I love that. And until next time, stay tuned for more.